What's up, internet? My name's Ori. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. You like this video, hit that like button, hit that notification bell. You'll never miss a video. You'll never miss a stream. Today is Friday, September 8th, day number 38 inside the Big Brother house. We've got a good bit to go over. We had the episode last night, but also the live feeds when they eventually came back. Though we knew who won HoH, we didn't get to see kind of the immediate fallout, which would have been the most exciting because of the whole delay with East Coast and West Coast, but we still got some good information on how this week will probably play out. Spoiler alert, it's gonna be very similar to 2 weeks ago. So let's kind of talk about what happened. Before we jump into the episode itself, before the episode on the feeds, we did have a little bit of talk between Felicia and Mimi about potentially flipping the vote back to Jag instead of Red. And it seemed like maybe they actually might get blindsided along with Red, Cameron, and Bowie and end up on the wrong side of the numbers for this vote because everyone was letting them believe like, yeah, let's do that. Even Jared was like, yeah, cool, like, go for it. Izzy was like, yeah, okay, it sounds great. But then eventually, the last thing we saw before the feeds went down for the live show was Izzy talking to Jared about how, like, don't you think maybe this might cause more questions from Bowie if Felicia and Mimi end up voting to keep Red and we don't? Like, aren't they gonna have questions about that even if we lie to her and say they were the ones to flip, not us? They're not gonna tell Bowie that. And they were both kind of discussing the pros and cons of letting this play through. Someone obviously filled them in right before the vote happened. Felicia even mentioned in her vote to evict Red that due to new information, I sadly vote to evict Red. So they filled her in and it ended up being an 8-2 vote. 8-3 vote if you believe some of the conspiracy theories that Cory's mouth was dubbed over. I think he just said Red and it looked a little weird. Sometimes things look weird, and I think it was one of those like phenomenons where, have you guys ever seen that thing where an audio clip will play and they'll tell you it says one thing, but when they tell you now listen for this and you hear whatever they want you to hear? I think it's one of those things, right? Where it's like you think we're hearing Red and it looks like he's saying Jag, but he's just saying Red, and that's all it is. I mean, even if you go and try and like dub me over right now, when I say Red and when I say Jag, they're kind of similar, right? It's not like it's that different of syllables or anything. So I think it was just like a weird thing that people were like, no, they dubbed over, he voted for Jag. Like it really would matter anyway. It would have been a 7-3 vote, and one more hinky vote really wasn't going to make a difference. Everybody would just been like, okay, who's throwing the weird hinky vote? It wouldn't have, they probably would have even figured out it was Cory eventually. Those things don't get kept a secret for very long. We did end up though seeing an 8-2 vote. Bowie and Cameron, the only ones left out of the vote, being very shocked. Red seemed like he kind of had a feeling it was coming. He could tell that things were sketchy. But going into it, I assume he thought he was safe. And Red might be. He might just be, and I maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm forgetting someone. I don't think this has happened before, but he might be the first evictee to have an exposed nipple when talking to Julie. He had suspenders on, or not suspenders, overalls on, no shirt. There was also kind of the fun little thing where Julie fills in the evicted house guest that Jared and Cirie are mother and son, and she always asks questions like, do you think there's any secret relationships? And he's like, oh yeah, sure. You know, Izzy and Jared and Felicia. Well, yeah, but we mean other kind of, maybe you should phrase it differently, Julie, because nobody catches on when you say that. Maybe you should say, did you know there was a secret pre-existing relationship inside the house? Maybe make it a little bit more clear to these people. And maybe you will get somebody to actually go, oh. Until you do that, they're all a little bit confused on what you're trying to tell them. Eventually, though, when she does say, well, it's Jared and Cirie, their mother and son, he goes, oh, cool, awesome. And just kind of like, I feel like everybody just goes, yeah, that's great. and I read, though, even more so, he trusted Cirie so much. So I wonder how much that will affect him in the end, in how much he trusted her, how he was saying he would lay his game on the line for her, which he ended up doing. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. Julie did also kind of press the issue that, hey, Cameron, he voted to keep you, even though it seems like Red is done. Like, he is done with Cameron. He can never be his friend again. I think eventually Red's going to realize, like, oh, actually, maybe I shouldn't be so hard on him. We then got a live HoH. It was questions, or they would show them the video and then they would have to answer questions about it. This one was fart themed, and they had videos of the house guests bending over and in weird positions and just weird interactions where farts would happen. It was very almost embarrassing. Like, this is the type of competition where you go like, man, can't they just take themselves just a little bit more seriously? Just like a tiny bit. Like, just a fraction more. Just please. Because otherwise it was a good competition where, you know, they have to kind of memorize things. With this one, they were going off of the color of the farts. Eventually, it gets down to a final three of Cameron, Izzy, and Cory, which really kind of makes sense. The entire time, Cory was very locked in. You could tell he was counting and trying to remember which order it was. Cameron was zoned in. He just lost Red and was blindsided. Even though there was a rift in their relationship, he's coming into this thinking, I have to win. And not only do I have to win, you know, for Red, but for me, because I know if I don't win this, I'm going up on the block and I'm probably out of here. So he was trying really hard. Izzy was also trying really hard as well. But in that final three, Izzy and Cory both get the question wrong. Cameron gets it right. He is your new HoH, and the crowd goes mild. They really were disappointed. You could see it on everybody's face. They were just like, really? Cameron won? And he needed to win this. If Cameron didn't win this, he was going to be the target this week. He would have needed to win veto in order to stay in the game. Otherwise, everybody would have just taken him out, and that would have been it. Now, with him winning HoH, that kind of just extends his time in there. Can he now use this HoH to set himself up? Maybe take out some people that are going to be in his way to eventually winning his way to the end. It seems like that might be what he's going to have to do here. A couple of other things before we get into what happened on the feeds and kind of what the plans are for the week. Wednesday, we talked about this a little while ago. Wednesday's episode is going to be a 2-hour episode. And we initially were kind of wondering, like, what's this going to be? Like, there's an eviction the next day. So, like, is it a double eviction? Is it like an instant eviction? Is there some kind of twist involved? Well, I think we now know what it is. I think it's just going to be an extra hour added onto the episode, which is basically just a glorified collab with the brand new show called Buddy Games. Now, listen, I'm actually kind of interested in this show, Buddy Games. I think it looks like it might be kind of fun. It looks silly, right? Just like kind of Big Brother, but I guess the basic concept is there's teams of 4 and they're all going to summer camp and they're going to compete against each other. If anybody is a 90s kid like myself, you'll remember from Nickelodeon a show called Wild and Crazy Kids. It seems like it's going to be that type of thing. Like, there were these like weird competitions they have to do all in this summer camp type theme. I guess it's based off of a movie that, what's his name? Josh Duhamel? Is that the guy? That might be the guy. I might have got his name wrong. But he was apparently in a movie called Buddy Games, and then I guess this is based off of Buddy Games, the movie, so they're making it a show. I don't know 100%, but he is going to be on Wednesday's episode. I think it's Josh Duhamel. Maybe I'm wrong. Let me know in the comments down below. Is it Josh Duhamel? Am I just making up that Josh Duhamel is the host of Buddy Games? Maybe I am, but the host of Buddy Games will be on the Wednesday episode, and that's why it's going to be 2 hours long. I don't think there's any other kind of twist that involves with it, but we did get another tease, and this is also why I think there's not going to be any kind of like special eviction or anything like that. If anything, they're going to have them do like special games and competitions, which even some of the house guests are kind of speculating too, because the wording of the Humiliverse week that we're in kind of seemed like there might be other competitions that are involved. And I think that's all going to be about like the buddy games. I think they probably have something set up for them to do, and we'll see what it is on Wednesday's episode. But there was another announcement from Julie. She had a little tease that next Thursday will be a big announcement that will affect this year's jury. What could that mean? Well, if it was a normal 9-person jury, this next eviction would be everybody in jury. So this is the last eviction before the jury would start. And then the whoever is left over after this eviction, whoever makes it to jury. If it's 9 people. But one of the possibilities is maybe they're not doing a 9-person jury. Maybe they're doing a 7-person jury. And if that's the case, we then have multiple weeks until jury starts, which makes it even more competitive. Potentially another thing that could happen is maybe it's an 8-person jury, and we have I want to say America's vote, but a viewer vote, right? Like where we, the viewers, kind of act as that 9th jury member, so there's no tie, and we would end up breaking any tie that might take place. Kind of seems like that would just be a vote for Cirie, and if that is the twist for it, that doesn't really help people who already think they've stacked this in so much favor to have Cirie win in the end, because that would basically be a guaranteed jury vote for Cirie to win. But we don't know what it is going to be. Maybe it's something completely different. Maybe it's about a jury battle back, because I do think just with the timing of everything and how many weeks we have left and how many house guests are left, at this point, there would be no double eviction or anything like that. So I think there will be some kind of a battle back to take place from jury. Plus, it's usually easier to do something like that. Where we'll find out that for sure, if they don't say on the episode that, hey, there's a jury battle back, if the first person who gets evicted that heads to jury, if they are told about Jared and Cirie, I do not think there will be a battle back. But if they are not told about Jared and Cirie when every other single house guest was, there's potential there could be a battle back. But also, I don't know if they will tell them anyway, because that also really kind of is game information that they shouldn't be giving out. So just to keep a heads up on that, like if they don't tell that jury person that Jared and Cirie are related, it could just be that they're trying to keep the jury untainted, which they should do. But it could also mean there's a little bit more likely chance that there's a battle back that's going to take place. Because I could see them going either way with it. They've done both things in the past, where they've let things out that they shouldn't have, and they haven't told them things that we thought they would tell them. Other than that, though, let's jump into what's going to happen with this week and where the plans are, and some of the conversations that happened on the feeds last night. It seems like we're basically going back in time for 2 weeks to when Cameron's first HoH was. After the pressure cooker, seems like Jag and Blue will be the likely noms. We came back with Bowie and Cam having a little bit of a chat, and he actually joked. At first, I thought he wasn't joking, but he was like, yeah, you know what? She's going to fall apart as a have-not this week. Oh, by the way, they're all have-nots this week except for Cameron. They have to switch on and off on who has to sleep in the have-not room. There's a couple of other things they have to do. They all have gas masks. And what I've been able to piece together is above the door in the bathroom on the toilet, it says stinkometer. And there is a megaphone. And I saw Blue actually doing this, where she took the megaphone and she went, Blue going to the bathroom. She had to like announce it. She tried to do it as low as possible because most people were asleep at this point. She then begged them. She said, please don't do it to me. Like, please. I've had a night, please don't do it to me. So she goes in, she uses the restroom, she comes out, And eventually that, you know, that like weird announcer voice they use that's like high pitched. It's like, it basically said like, Blue, you got a 1 on the stinkometer. And that is basically what I think is going to happen with these gas masks that they all have. So pretty much anytime the meter is above a certain threshold, let's say like a 8 or a 9 or something like that, everyone's going to have to put the gas mask on, and it's going to be like a whole thing. They're going to wake up the house. If it's in the middle of the night, they're going to be doing it randomly during the day, I assume, as well. It's all just part of the big Humiliverse thing that they're doing this week. So get ready for that. I don't think we'll see a lot of it on the feeds when they actually do like one of the high numbers and everybody has to put the gas masks on. They'll probably block the feeds for that, which again is silly. Like, just give us stuff to watch on the feeds. Like, you don't need to block that and save it for an episode. Nobody's watching the episodes to see, oh, I gotta see how the humiliation plays out. Some other things that happen though, like I was saying with Bowie and Cam, they were talking about Felicia being just kind of falling apart, being a have-not, and how she's gonna crumble. But also, maybe he just puts her up in a pawn. And he's joking. He says, I'm not that mean. I wouldn't do that. I'm joking. I wouldn't put up Felicia. So it seemed like for a little bit there, I was like, oh, maybe there's a chance that Felicia actually ends up on the block this week. When there's been all this talk about her being so messy and people trying to go for her. So we would see how that plays out. But it doesn't seem like that's likely unless there is some kind of replacement nominee potential. But even then, I think Cameron has other ideas, and we'll kind of talk a little bit more about that as well. We had Bowie, who was blaming Felicia for the vote to Cirie. But meanwhile, while that was kind of a thing where Bowie was venting to Cirie about stuff, which also Bowie summed up this season perfectly. She basically was like, oh, I got a great idea, in her Australian accent. I was going to try and do an Australian accent. I don't know if you guys heard. It like started off where I was going to try it, but then I abandoned it real quick. She basically goes, I've got a great idea. Why don't we start a new alliance every single week and then break up afterwards? And that is basically this entire season in a nutshell. Bowie and Jane, she figured it out. That is what's happening this season. So that was pretty funny. But meanwhile, Cirie was talking about Bowie to other people, saying how, you know, she was real slick with her words, and like, we got to watch out for her because she's playing both sides. There was another little convo where Bowie was saying how there was a bunch of them in the room. I think it was like Felicia, Izzy, just like a bunch of the gang all sitting in the comic room. And they were talking about how she thought that you could play this game without lying and just being more honest. And Cirie's like, oh, like, stand up if you haven't lied in this game. And later on, Cirie's like, yeah, I called her out on that because she's been playing both sides. Of course she's lied already. So we'll see how that all kind of plays out. Basically, they're just kind of pushing Bowie under the bus for potential stuff. Maybe even next week when things eventually fall apart, which I guess is smart for them to have some kind of a plan. But other than that, the other big convo we saw, because there were only a few, like we had Matt filling in Cirie on kind of what was going on too as well, and kind of they were chatting about like potentials of what could happen. There was also one with Izzy and Cirie, and Izzy and Jared, where she was complaining that Cirie didn't have faith in her to win, and was saying that she counted on Cory so much, and that was a whole thing. But the big convo we got, and it was a very long one, was Blue and Cameron up in the HoH room. We didn't really get to see any other HoH meetings with Cameron yet. But Cameron just was his cagey self, you know. He was saying things like, you're not my target. You don't have to worry. We're good. I can't tell you exactly what I'm going to do. He did have a funny little line. He's like, she's like, well, who are you going to put up? He's like, I can't tell you that. I haven't even told Dominican Republic, DR, about what I'm going to do yet. Eventually, Blue got to the point where she was crying because she kind of realized like she will be going up with Jag, and she just kind of says like, I don't feel good. If Jag wins veto, I'm gone. Like, like, I don't know what you expect's gonna happen, but if I'm on the block and Jag takes himself off, it doesn't matter who you put up. I'm probably going to get voted out. She tried to say, you know, like she's not that close with Jag, and she kind of threw Jag under the bus a little bit. But I think that was all just to kind of keep her and Jag off the block, potentially. And then what's interesting is she said how close she was with Jared, but also with America. And at first I thought like, oh, she's just actually trying to have a conversation here with Cameron a little bit openly, where she's for some reason trusting America now, which I was kind of surprised with. Like, I didn't think she trusted America that much. But it seemed like, oh, well, America maybe is gaining her trust. So I'll give Blue some credit on that. It was pretty good acting skills, because we found out afterwards Cam eventually left the HOH just to give her time, because he felt bad that she was crying and stuff like that. He was real awkward with it too. Like, what was it? What was the one thing she said? She was like, I just don't see a world where I'm on the block and Jag takes himself off where I stay. And he says, it's all right, Jasmine. And she's like, who the hell's Jasmine? And he's like, a whole new world. And it was like, bro, like, that might work with your daughter. I don't think it's gonna work with a full-grown woman. Like, I don't. Yeah, it was weird. But he eventually leaves to go get like the rest of his stuff, to kind of bring it up from HOH and just to kind of give her time because she was upset. And this is when Blue kind of like shut the waterworks off and was kind of talking to us with the cam, just while she was all alone up in the HOH. And she's like, I need him to put America up too. America's up there with me, like, we're good. But if he puts anybody else up, it's going to be somebody from the 7, and that isn't good. So that's why she was trying to say she was so close with America. But also, her saying she was so close to Jared, maybe that's just her trying to say it because she has to, because it's obvious. If she didn't say she was close to Jared, it would feel weird. But also maybe it's because she doesn't care that much if she's on the block with Jared, as opposed to somebody like Jag, because she thinks maybe she'd be able to stay in that situation. But I'm telling you now, Blue, if you're on the block at the end of this week, I don't think there's many people that you stay against. I think most people actually end up taking you out. But we'll see how that kind of plays out. Who knows with this group? It is kind of wild. But that's the plans right now. Blue and Jag as the nominees. We don't even necessarily know 100% who replacements would be. He didn't bring that up. Blue didn't even really bring it up. Like, if I was Blue and I got to that point where I realized, like, oh, there's no way I'm staying off the block, I would then start wondering, what are the replacement options? Like, let me know what's going on. But she didn't really seem like she went that too deep in it. She just kept going in circles saying how, oh, I'm going to be so mad at you if he takes himself off the block, and crying, and then tried to make it seem like she's like, I put on an Oscar-worthy performance. The only thing she did that was maybe Oscar-worthy was, I did for a bit there think like, oh, wow, all of a sudden she trusts America. That's kind of weird. So she did good in that end, but otherwise it didn't do anything to keep herself off the block. So it wasn't that effective. But let me know what you guys are thinking down in the comments down below. What do you think of Cameron winning HOH? What do you think of his plans to nominate Jag and Blue? I'll tell you what, I think if you kind of look at the house, Jag's in a tough spot. Because if he were to nominate anyone else, what does that really do for him? Right? Because at this point, Cameron has to know he needs to win every competition he can to stay. Who's his biggest threat to beat him in the competitions at this point? Jag, who's come in second multiple times. He's won a few himself. Matt's probably a danger to win some competitions. Cory's probably a danger to win some competitions. Darren, I guess. America. Mimi, when it comes to the wall comp, is going to be a threat as well. Like, watch out for Mimi, which the wall should be coming up fairly soon, or at least the endurance once jury does start. Maybe there's a few mental comps that like Izzy's going to be a problem for. But I think with Cameron, the way he's seeing it is, let's say he took a shot at Cirie and Izzy. What does that really do for him, right? One of them goes, sure, But then he still has the whole house coming after him, and he still has Jag he has to worry about because he doesn't trust him. Even if they were able to make an agreement to say, hey, let's not go after each other, and Jag would spill all the information about the seven deadly sins and all this stuff, which it seems like he is maybe planning to, try his best this week to stay off the block. I don't think it's going to work because I think at this point, Cameron just says, to stay, I got to win competitions. And the only way I win competitions if I take out Jag. And that's like his big first hurdle that he needs to get across. Whether that's the right player or not, we'll see. But I think that's where Cameron's head is at this point. But let me know what you guys are thinking. What do you think of his plans? What do you think of him as the HoH? At the very least, it's not just a very straightforward week where we're just going to see Cam get eliminated. At least now there's some excitement where let's see what happens with the veto. Who potentially would be a replacement? I would imagine maybe Izzy could end up being a replacement nominee, but I don't think she would have to worry if she's up there against Blue or Jag. I don't think either one of them would stay over Izzy at this point. I think she would have the numbers to stay. But what do you guys think? Let me know in those comments down below. Thank you guys again so much for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you. If you are new here, hit that subscribe button. You like this video, hit that like button, hit that notification bell. You'll never miss a video. You'll never miss a stream. Check out the links to all my socials in the description down below. Pinned comment as well. You can check out things like my Kick and Twitch. I've been streaming a lot more over there this week. I won't be streaming today, but I will have a stream on Saturday where we'll kind of hang out. Maybe we'll watch some feeds and stuff like that, or just play some games. We'll see what we'll do. Also, check out the Discord where you can join the conversation over there. It was really popping when Cameron won HoH. It was like, wow, that just happened. So if you want to join the conversation, join the Discord as well. You can follow on Twitter to keep up with everything going on in the Ori universe. Thank you guys again so much for watching, and I will see you next time.